Lieutenant General Aguto, Vice Provost and Dean Washington White, Dean Packard, Vice Provost Wilson, Ms. Linda Deno, distinguished guests, students, families, and friends. Welcome to the University of Arizona Veterans Education and Transition Services graduation ceremony. My name is Bruce Grissom, and I'm the Director of the Veterans Education and Transition Services here on campus, and also the Interim Director for ROTC programs. We're pleased to have with us the Honor Guard from the American Legion Post 132. At this time, if you are able, please remove your hats and stand for the posting of our colors and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. We respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land of and territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being the home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign nations through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. I would also like to take a moment to note that we have over 60 student veterans in attendance today, either in person or online. The afternoon is our chance to recognize those veterans as they prepare to take the next steps in their journey, whether that's employment, continued education, or continued service. But at the beginning, please join me in giving all of our 2022 graduates a big round of applause. Following completion of today's ceremonies, we have some refreshments over in the atrium. Please join us, stick around for a few minutes and congratulate the graduates. Today, you'll hear from two of our student veterans. Lieutenant General Aguto will share some sage advice for our graduates, and our graduating veterans will receive their veteran stole with the service colors of the service in which they served. For some, this may only happen once. So I'd like all the families and friends that are here today, by all means, get the picture. The celebration is just as much for you as it is for our graduates. So if you need to stand, if you need to move from your seats to get the picture, feel free, get the picture. Here at the University of Arizona, we have a steep history of military tradition. The university was established under the Memorial Act which requires ROTC military training component at the institution. Arizona Wildcats have had a heritage of service from World War I through today. During World War II, more than 11,000 military men received training at the University of Arizona. 10,000 of those graduated from the Naval Training School, 591 from Naval Aviation School, 283 from Army Specialized Training Program, and another 331 from the Civil Aeronautics Authorities Program. Our student union, the building we're in now, has many features of the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor. The cylindrical cylinder that you might have noticed at the top of our student union represents the main gun turret that you can see on the ship from the memorial. The sculpture that's located in the traffic circle where you came in contains 1,511 dog tags for the service members of the USS Arizona. 1,171 are in a diamond shape, representing those that perished on the ship. And another 334 represent the survivors of the USS Arizona. In 2016, on the 75th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the university opened our USS Arizona Memorial on the Mall, which is a 2-scale outline of the ship within the space in the grass area on the Mall, just to our north. And today on campus, we have more than 4,000 military connected students across all of our university campuses. In addition, we have more than 300 students within our ROTC programs. Many faculty and staff members are also veterans or serve in the military. With great support from our university leadership, as a center, we are able to help students in their journey as they complete their education. And that's the mission of VETS. I would now like to introduce our first student speaker. He is a veteran of the US Navy, and he is our student lead within the VETS program. Simply put, he makes our day-to-day operations in our VETS Center happen. So please join me in welcoming Jared Chourre.
All right, quite the introduction. Before I get started, I do want to acknowledge Bruce and Steve, who are both up here, for everything they've done for us at the Veterans Center. I honestly don't think I'd be here standing in such a successful position without them being a part of my life. So thank you very much, gentlemen. But good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us in celebrating this momentous occasion. My name is Jared Chourre, and I am honored to be standing here speaking to you all. When I started writing this, I was trying to think of a theme that would summarize our time here together. There were many that crossed my mind: teamwork, resiliency, determination, to name a few. But the one that I feel has been a recurring theme amongst many of us, whether we figured it out early or, like me, it took a few lessons before it stuck, was having a growth mindset. Now, just having this mindset isn't helpful in its own right. We have to put it to practice. And as veterans, we are not ones to give up easily. And so we find much success in learning from our failures if we choose to identify them as teaching tools and not faults of our own intelligence. I stand here before you today, a University of Arizona endorsed leader, the VETS student lead, and having good enough grades to make the dean's list with distinction. Humble brag. However, I don't bring this up to brag, more to point out how my academic journey has ended versus where it began. I didn't come to the university and perform well immediately. I wasn't the most academically inclined. for whatever reason, I don't know, I couldn't figure out how to get straight A's. Until that is, I found my veteran community and asked for help. I utilized my resources and my peers' unique perspectives, talked to other student veterans who had tread the path I was currently on and learned from their successes and failures. In doing this, I was better able to prepare myself for the academic challenges to come and wasn't scared of making mistakes. I tried to avoid them with everything I had in me, but mistakes and failures reared their head. However, this time, I was equipped with a growth mindset and tackled things that would have tripped me up earlier head on and with a staunch determination. Having this in my toolkit, I came to understand that as student veterans, we are able to have a more concrete foundation in having this growth mindset. The military was the first place a lot of us began to think this way. That belief that our abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, that brains and talent were just the starting points. Having a growth mindset is to have high resiliency and surround ourselves with positivity. It may be most important, the ability and desire to take calculated risks, to live in the moment and be accepting of exciting challenges. It means we have self-discipline. We maintain and surround ourselves with positivity. And maybe most importantly, we have the desire to help others. Because although failure is an excellent catalyst for learning, teaching is equally as useful in the reinforcement of newfound knowledge. All of us here today have achieved great things. We have made an impact in the environment we operate in and have shown to the academic world what veterans can do when we put our minds to it. Albeit some adjusting needs to happen. We don't all show up and tackle this thing called college head on. Some of us show up a little too overconfident and have to maybe take a step back to deal with and some of us need that reality check that maybe college isn't as much of an individual sport as we previously thought. But as veterans, we adapt and overcome, right? There's that saying. Having worked in teams throughout our time in the military, whether in leadership capacity or as an integral part of any team, we have done this before. So friends, family, parents, the group you see sitting before you today, they're ready to graduate, is a perfect example of what having a growth mindset can do. It is no shock that we did not reach this day as individuals, but as a team, leaning on one another for support, whether it be academic or mental or even physical. We are there to help one another achieve great success. Working together, helping one another, knowing that when we stumble, someone will be there to pick us up, and staying positive in the face of daunting academic challenges. These have allowed the veterans here before you to stand even taller with their chins held high, shoulders back, and steely-eyed gaze of confidence with someone, steely-eyed gaze of someone brimming with confidence. There we go, back on track. Brimming with confidence and strut across this stage to receive their stole and later on their diploma. They're absolutely deserving of a round of applause as we are acknowledging them for a tremendous accomplishment. Becoming a college graduate, nope, that's a statement. Becoming a college graduate. Amazing achievement, guys. Guess this is why we practice, huh? So take a moment today, my fellow graduates, and realize where you are right now and where you started. I guarantee you have grown as a person, an academic, a professional, and will make a difference in our society, hopefully for the better. Acknowledge your success and let in the accolades and compliments being given to you. We veterans are often pretty humble and shy away from praise in our achievements, for the most part. But I implore you to not let that be this day. Acknowledge your success. You have earned this praise. You have earned this diploma. You have earned this day of celebration. You are all shining examples of success, and I'm honored to be a part of this graduating class of 2022. Thank you, and go Wildcats.
Thank you, Jared. Our next speaker is completing his master's degree in higher education this year. For many years, he has given everything he has to help many of our military-connected students across campus. As with Jared, there's probably no one else since I've been the director of the center that has put so much effort into helping so many others. So please join me in welcoming Stephen Westby.
Well, thank you, Bruce. That was humbling. And thank you to our distinguished guests for being with us today. Lieutenant General Aguto, it's nice to see you again. Folks, this is my commander from 2007 and 2008 and 2009. He took us into Baghdad, Diyala province, with 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment, and I am thrilled that he's here to join us today. So thank you, sir, for coming out. We really appreciate you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say toujours prêt. Always ready, sir. Most of all, thank you to our veterans. Today's about you. I'm proud to look out and see so many of you here with me today. We have almost every branch accounted for, and I will be the first to tell you that yes, we have a Space Force graduate in our midst today. Can I just get a quick round of applause, because that's pretty cool. Among us are fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marines, guardians, I think they're called, right? And do we have any coasties here? If you do, just make some noise. Unfortunately not. We get them every couple of years, but not this time. Thank you for what you do. We wouldn't be up here. Folks like Bruce, myself, Jared wouldn't be successful without you. You are the reason that we do what we do. So thank you above all. I got 2 quotes for you today. The first is from Matthew McConaughey. It's not the one you think it is. McConaughey said, "There are 3 things to my account that I need each day. One of them is something to look up to, another is something to look forward to, and another is someone to chase." I look up to the people who helped get me here. Lieutenant General Aguto, you taught me the importance of compassion and empathy for those who you lead, and I've carried that with me ever since. Cody, Dewan Copeland, who's joining us virtually, I believe, thank you for believing in me, for giving me a place where I could thrive and grow, and a place to build. Bruce, you pushed me to pursue a master's when I had 0 inkling of doing so, and to keep building. So to all of you, I say thank you. And those thank yous extend a lot longer. It would take me an hour to list off everybody who's helped us get here, but thank you to everybody also who's attending. I'm looking forward to working full-time with student veterans at New York University. Go Violets. I've learned so much about you all while I've been here, and I really do hope to carry that forward into my career. I chose the career in higher education because I want to keep working with veterans. It's here. It's in my heart. It's in my soul. I love all of you because you give me purpose. So I hope that I can take just a little bit of what I've learned from you all here to my next journey. So thank you. So who then do I chase? You may not be surprised with everything else I've said, but I chase you all. Everybody sitting in this audience today. This population is always growing and changing, adapting and growing. And if I can emulate a fraction of the solidarity, the poise, and the perseverance through everything that you all have done, I know that I get to be successful in what I do. So again, thank you. I told you I've got 2 quotes for you today. The second is from the honorable and, in my opinion, severely missed Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She said, "As you leave here and proceed along life's paths, try to leave tracks. Use the education you have received to help repair tears in your communities. Take part in efforts to move those communities, your nation, and our world closer to the conditions needed to ensure the health and well-being of your generation and generations following your own." Think on that last part. What tracks are you going to leave? You've got the opportunity to step out into a new world entirely different from the military. Nobody's telling us to show up at 0900 for formation. Nobody's keeping us until 1900 doing wet layouts for weapons and for inventory. We get to forge our own path now. Similarly, at least for those not continuing in their education, nobody's telling us to show up for exams or, oh my gosh, pop quizzes, the worst. No more group projects with folks who may or may not pull their own weight in those classes. I've heard from a lot of you on that one. I'm in a group project and nobody's putting anything into it. What do I do? We don't have that anymore. You get to carve your own path. So make sure that you're paying attention to those tracks that you're leaving for those who follow you. What will you do with the education you've learned? Think about the impact that you can have on your own community, if you choose to have one. Maybe you still have friends in the military you can help get to college. Perhaps you can give advice to someone you've met at the University of Arizona as they join the military. Whether you're an engineer, a nurse, business person, or mathematician, try to take what you've learned and apply it to projects that help others. In a world that appears more and more selfish every day, choose to be selfless. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I would like to take a moment now to recognize an important set of graduates in our audience. For veterans, many of us could not have been successful without our families that supported us along the way. If you are a graduating spouse or dependent of a veteran joining us today, will you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. One of my great privileges of working in the Veterans Center is to not only work with our student veterans, but to work with our spouses and dependents as well. I have many student employees that are dependents, and they make our lives complete. And as I said, we could not do what we did in service without our family members alongside us. And now, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker. He has led soldiers for 34 years in assignments stateside and abroad, including multiple combat tours. He is a 1988 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, and he holds a master's degree from the United States Naval War College. Today, he is the commanding general of the 1st United States Army, Rock Island Arsenal, Illinois. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant General Tony Aguto.
So you noticed that both students came up with either a phone or an iPad, and I'll tell you, this is what I work off of, just to show a little bit of difference. So good afternoon. Oh, come on, it's not that bad. I promise I'll be quick. Good afternoon. My name's Tony Aguto, and I'm a proud U.S. Army soldier. So first, to all our distinguished guests and leadership at the University of Arizona, welcome and thank you for being here today and honoring our veterans. I think I could speak for all of us that we are truly honored and blessed that you would do something like this for all of us in recognition as they all approach their graduation. So thank you very much. To Jared, Bruce, and Steve, And of course, the American Legion Color Guard, thank you for all that you did today to make this a special occasion and honor our veterans, and very touched that you all asked me to be here. Before we start though, I'd like to join the crowd and say, welcome to the families and friends of today's graduates. You've shared the brunt of the veteran service, your veteran service. Their service to the nation, their transition to service, their graduation through college, and the service truthfully that will lie ahead of them. You know what service is like, and I would like to personally thank all of you for your dedication and selfless service to both your families and our nation. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in a round of applause for our families and friends. And most especially, I'd like to welcome all the veterans who will be honored here today and in the coming days for all that you have achieved, the degrees that you will officially earn to come, and thank you for your service to our nation and what you are about to do as you graduate this fine institution. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our veteran graduates. So I got to tell you, I've been doing this for quite a while. I've spoken in front of a lot of crowds, and most of my soldiers will tell you, I do much, much better when I speak from the heart and not behind a podium. Prepared remarks are not one of my strengths. And to be honest with you, I was preparing for my remarks today. I realized that I am speaking in front of much, much better and higher educated people than I will ever pretend to be. So I was a little nervous to be up front. And so I'm texting with my wife and say, hey, honey, I'm leaving. I am going to give my speech. I'm a little nervous. And she wrote back and said, don't worry about it. Just be yourself and you'll do okay. And whatever you do, don't shit and swear. I had to tone that down. She actually said something worse. But then very quickly, a text came back and said, wait a minute, don't quite be yourself and you should be okay. So a lot of confidence there from the families. But I will tell you that, like most true leaders, I promise in my short comments that I will speak true to form and from the heart, starting with, I can't tell you how honored I am to be here today amongst all of you, and very humbled. I started this morning doing PT with the Wildcat ROTC Battalion, and I'm telling you, if you really want to fire up a guy of 34 years of service, of 50 plus years of age, just let them walk you up the big hill. And forgive me, I don't remember the name of it, bring you all the way to the top and try to talk to them the entire way up that hill. I got to tell you, that it's really good to see our next generation and know that our future of our country and our armed services are in good hands. I've also had the chance over the last 24 hours to explore your beautiful campus in downtown. And from a guy from West Point, not exactly known for its wild and carefree college experience, I have to commend all of you on your well-earned reputation as one of the nation's top party schools and what it's like to be here. Well done. But most of all, and seriously, I've had the opportunity to get to know some of you, veterans who've loyally served this nation, current service members, faculty devoted to veterans, oftentimes many because you all are veterans yourselves, and so many poised to earn degrees that will make you even better leaders and contributors to our military, our community, and our country. And again, thank you for the honor and privilege to stand here in front of you today. I am truly humbled to stand in the presence of giants. Thank you. Let me start with this. As long as I've been in the Army, and I say this all the time in my 34 years of service, that being in the Army is all about the stories. It's all about the stories that you live. It's all about the stories you share. It's all about the stories that one day, when you're my age, you'd be proud to take your grandchild, bounce them on your knee, and tell them in front of a fireplace. Those are the stories that it's what it means to serve. And I'll tell you the story behind each and one of you here today, because I've seen many of them, serve as the beating heart of our armed forces and what you guys have provided to the University of Arizona. I will tell you that the stories of our service members inspire us, they motivate us, and they truly remind us that behind each and every name tape that we wear on every uniform, regardless of service, is a real man or woman who weighed all the risks of service, yet still decided to put everything on the line and be part of something much greater than themselves. And there are many examples of these stories. Steve and Jared just told us a couple. We have a University of Arizona, first Space Force graduate, Guardian, amongst our midst. We have an Arizona National Guard soldier who is a double master in both public health and psychology and managed to balance her studies while deploying for months on end to help this state battle the COVID-19 pandemic. And when I spoke to the Adjutant General of Arizona about this, she was so impressed by your dedication that your Adjutant General, Major General Kerry Muhlenbeck, asked me to send a special shout out to Alyssa Stone and thank you for your service. We have a Navy intelligence specialist whose deployment to Iraq was spent giving critical briefings to some of the nation's top U.S. special operations assets. And let me tell you, there are many, many, many more, but all of your stories are incredible, and they've made me reflect on one simple truth. Yes, for the majority of us in this room, service has included a uniform. It's included deployments, it's included sacrifices, and oftentimes it's included the risk of life and limb. But for this nation to be successful, for this great American experience to be successful and be in good hands, service must be a value that is equally demonstrated, esteemed, and held in high regard by far more than those of us who wear the cloth of our armed forces. So as I talk to you today, the one thing I ask you to remember, we must continue to tell our stories. We must continue to share our stories. More importantly, we must be proud of them and take those stories to the next level and continue to serve our communities beyond our time in uniform. General Omar Bradley, former First Army commander, said, "Battles are won by the infantry, the armor, the artillery, and the air." I'm sure somewhere in there was Navy, but I apologize if he didn't say it. By the troops living in the rains and huddling in the snow, we win our battles. But wars are won by the great strength of a nation, by soldiers and civilians working together. What you all do every day and what you are going to do matters, and we don't always know where our stories lead us, who they affect, but I do know this: what you have done, what you do, and what you will do matters. Your stories matter. And as I said, there's a lot of them. Let's take Demarius Russell as an example. One of the lead planners for today's events. He works in his own global studies degree with the hopes of becoming a foreign service officer in the Department of State, a former Marine. I'll talk a little slowly. Pictures, we'll put up pictures. He also works as a caregiver for the disabled, trains service dogs, and volunteers with the local youth, all while handling the vets of the center, handling events for the vet center, and being a student. I should also note, because it's in the sideline here to myself, that he's also a former Marine Corps Hall of Fame boxer. So Demarius, I do apologize for the crayon joke. Please don't take me out back later. Let's turn to some of you who will graduate in a couple of days, and that thread of service, both in what you have done and will do, remains strong, both in this fine institution, the service, and then what you're about to do. I love the story of Zach Hammer, a former Navy explosive ordnance disposal technician. EOD experts. I'm not really sure why they do what they do, but they have a critical job in the military, and that's to go where the bombs are. They go where the bombs are, they defuse them, all in an attempt to keep their teammates safe. Today, Zach has devoted himself to his fellow troops with lasting injuries. Zach truly knows the reality of big head injuries, brain trauma, and concussions, and translates that into a high risk. That translates into a high risk of neurological conditions. Even today, military veterans are actually twice as likely to be diagnosed with ALS as opposed to those who don't serve. And Zach's degree in neuroscience and cognitive science will allow him to study and make advances in this field, helping out his buddies. You've heard from Jared Chourre, and I love his story as well. Operations Specialist, second class in the Navy from 2004 to 2014. During his time in uniform, he deployed 3 times in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then Jared has excelled here. You heard it all. Dean's List, University of Arizona Leadership Endorsement, and student lead at our VETS Center here. Now, if you ask Jared, and he kind of alluded to this, or better yet, ask his mom, how his first go around at higher education went and how that turned out for him. It was only then he decided to join the service, and he'll tell you that he was slightly less focused, but after 10 years of service, he was ready to buckle down and will graduate next week with his bachelor's in information science, a minor in communications, and a high-tech job that starts in less than 30 days. And Jared, when I retire in a couple of years, I'm coming to look for you for a job. But when Jared talks about what he's most proud of here in Tucson, Arizona, he says it's pretty simple. Assisting fellow veterans. He's helped them attain and train service dogs, and that's really a great story if you ever want to ask Jared about it, as well as to apply for veteran and disability benefits. He points out that the University of Arizona is a perfect fit for veterans like him. The great thing about veterans, and we all know this, that no matter what happens, how hard we fall, we always know to get back up, as Jared alluded to. Many of us have stories of where we felt knocked down all by ourselves, but somehow most of us find the strength to get back to our feet and make a difference. And when I asked Jared last night what he would like me to convey, he simply said, we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes, but there is a community of brothers and sisters, a community of veterans who are out there and willing to help. Veterans helping veterans. What you do matters. Which brings me to my next story. Stephen Westby. So I am a lieutenant general in the Army, and our time is somewhat busy. So when I told my folks I was going to Arizona, I was kind of questioned as to why. What is in Arizona that would drive you here? We have border operations, we have forces here that we can go see, which we did. But I said the only thing that's driving me here and the precipitous of my visit is because of I can really talk about that Aguto without choking up. But a former soldier of mine asked me to be here. And I've always told them, you ask and I'll be there, I'll come. So he did, and I came, and I can't tell you how proud I am of him and his accomplishments and what it meant to be together. Steve is the president of the University of Arizona Student Veterans America chapter and a graduate assistant for the VETS program. His own personal story will tell you how far the military could take you from the comforts of home and take him out of the McDonald's drive-thru in Kentucky to serve as the U.S. Army Human Intelligence Collector from 2005 to 2010. And I could tell you many stories of how Steve saved our unit in some very harrowing situations. He deployed to Iraq for 15 months as a cavalryman and spent 2.5 years in the United Arab Emirates supporting the U.S. Air Force's Special Operations Investigations. He's now completed his bachelor's education and, as early stated, has already started on his master's in higher education, soon to be done. The point here is you never know who you run into and what you do and how you impact them through your service, but your service matters and what you do matters to your brothers and sisters. And it mattered to me, Steve, to be honored to be asked to be here today. Stories go on. Joining us virtually is Sergeant Sabrina Jimenez from Shriver Air Force Base in Colorado. We've already mentioned her once, and to follow on the General Bradley quote, surely he would not have been able to envision what the Space Force does for the intricacies of our armed forces on today's battlefield. Truthfully, I'm not even sure I understand it. But I can guarantee you that he would have understood that a citizen pursuing higher education, a former soldier or a soldier veteran, will be positively influenced by their years of military service. And he would be certain and proud that a well-educated, motivated soldier would certainly be a battlefield multiplier to their military team or any team they join. Shortly after D-Day, General Bradley saw firsthand the valor and heroism of American troops and citizen soldiers on the Omaha beach. He made another observation that's very fitting today. He said that America needs those who thinks in service of their country and not in terms of their country's debt to them. Later echoed by President Kennedy in a very familiar quote about ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, excuse me. I spent the last couple of days as I've been traveling and here at the University of Arizona amongst your students, faculties, and veterans, and those devoted amongst them. And I can tell you one thing, that I am very confident in the fact that the American commitment that General Bradley speaks about to service is alive and well here in the University of Arizona and amongst all of you veterans. I know there's a lot of hand wringing out there that the nation no longer produces enough people who are more devoted to the common good than their own individual needs. We talk about troubles with recruitment. We talk about the youth not being able to serve. But I tell you, anyone who is feeling that way, come here to Tucson, to this university, to any ROTC program in the United States of America, and you can see firsthand those of you who exemplify exactly the kind of citizen soldier General Bradley knew this nation required, and you all represent that and make me proud to serve with you and our country each and every day. So let me close with this simple reminder, simple message that I tell my troops every day. What you do matters. It matters to you, it matters to your families, it matters to your community, and it matters to our nation. I've said that to soldiers all the time who up till just 2 days ago, a bunch of National Guard soldiers before the war in the Ukraine were training the Ukrainian military. Can you imagine what would have happened if things had turned out different? You don't have to watch the minute of the nightly news to know what those soldiers did mattered. I said it to Montana National Guardsmen who recently deployed to the Middle East, and with 7 days of hitting the ground, they were sent to Syria in combat, helping to quell another violent ISIS uprising. I said that to Michigan soldiers who, after 2 months in theater, were sent to Kabul and were there at the Kabul airfield in Afghanistan to the end. And just the other day, I said it to a soldier who had immigrated here from South Africa, very proud to be an American, who was tasked with defending the airspace of our nation's capital. But I want to tell each and every of you the same thing. What you do, what you have done, and what you will do, your stories of service and continued service matters. They matter to a nation where less than 1% of our citizens raise their right hand and fought to defend this land against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They matter to those you meet in your next careers or the next steps you take in your life as you inspire others to give back and serve in their own ways, whatever that is. And they matter to those of us still wearing the uniform today, because you show us that when we too finally get to the point where we transition back to the civilian life, we can find and will find our own way to continue to serve our communities in our nation. And you lead us and show us that way. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you for motivating me personally and by reminding me with your awesome and unique stories that service does not have a shelf life. Thank you all for being here. May God continue to bless you and your families. May God continue to bless our armed forces and those who serve. And may God continue to bless this great country. Army strong, beat Navy. Bear down Arizona, go Wildcats. Thank you.
Thank you, General Aguto, for those sage words of advice, mostly. Yes, I am a veteran of the Navy. We have a special medley of service songs. Please stand as we play the medley when your service song is played.
card.
The United States Marine Corps.
United States Army.
The United States Navy. The United States Air Force.
And now we will present our graduation stoles to our veteran graduates. Graduates, as you come up, please come in front of the screen on my left side of the stage there and receive your stole.
Jessica Smedley. Joshua Primo. J. Carmen Tirado Paredes. Joshua Robbins. Brandon Martin. Gregory Jackson. Pedro Vasquez. Miles Blakely. Zachary Hammer. Ian Forsyth. Luis Granados. Ian Williamson. Martin Samaniego. Jasmine County. Nico Madrid. Kevin Robertson. Gabriel Flores. Carl Luthi. Darcy Stubbs. Brett Becko. Isabel Stone. Kai Slusher. Eric Ballister. Alex Catalan. Javier Martinez. Elizabeth Custer. Marco Antonio Mesa. Joseph Littell. Stephen Westby. Jared Chourre. And to our veterans joining us virtually, Anthony David Stone. Ashley Garanito. Azalea Rupides. Bjorn Scott Larson. Bruce Hart Valenzuela. Chad Helen. Charles Brad Johnson. Chris Salvino. Colleen Pepper. Corey Bendel. Dominique Leggett. Juan Copeland. Dylan DeForge. Hannah Manning. James Hanna. John Wade. Kenneth Dixon. Louis Dickens. Mitchell Wheeler II. Nadia Grafer. Neil Reyes. Rebecca Ades. Robert Schumann. Rocio J. Blanco. Sabrina Jimenez. Savannah Huzi. Sergio Torres. Stuz Nabaya. Tony Reynosa. Tyree Yaden. William Ennis.
What a great afternoon. One more round of applause for all of our graduates. And you may have noticed we have some very special guests that have just arrived. Our great school mascots and members of our cheer squad, Wilbur and Wilma Wildcat, members of the cheer squad. At the conclusion of our ceremony, please be sure you get a photo with them. We do have a photo backdrop on the right side of the room over here. This concludes our ceremony today. Please join us for cake and some punch as refreshments. Stick around, congratulate our graduates, and bear down.